You know, are we alone in the universe? It's got to be one of the biggest, most profound questions we can possibly ask. And right now, the search for an answer is playing out like this absolutely wild cosmic detective story. And, get this, it has two completely different investigations at its core.
And astronomer David Kipping just frames this whole mystery perfectly. He says, that doesn't mean nobody else was ever here. What he's getting at is just fascinating. He's suggesting that maybe, just maybe, other civilizations have already come and gone in the blink of a cosmic eye. So we're not just looking for neighbors out there in space, we might actually be hunting for their ghosts in time.
So the big question is, how do we even begin to look for them? Well, that one question launches us down two totally different paths. I mean, radically different. One path takes us out among the stars, with the slow, patient gaze of our telescopes. And the other? Well, that one, completely out of left field, has started in the halls of government.
Okay, so first let's tackle the astronomical investigation. This is the methodical, scientific search for clues. Really, it's a game of shadows and light, played out across trillions and trillions of miles.
So the number one tool in the Cosmic Detectives Toolkit is something called the transit method. And honestly, the idea behind it is pretty straightforward. You basically stare at a star and you wait. You wait for it to get just a tiny, tiny bit dimmer. Why? Because that dip in light could be a planet, a whole new world passing right in front of it.
But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The difficulty of this task is just mind-bending. I mean, look at this number. For a planet like Earth crossing a star like our Sun, the dip in brightness we're looking for is just 84 parts per million. That's almost nothing.
And David Kipping's analogy for this just nails it. He says, it's like a firefly flying in front of a giant floodlight at a stadium. I mean, can you even picture that? Trying to spot that tiny flicker? That's what we're up against. It's this impossibly small signal buried in all the noise of the cosmos. Our instruments have to be just unbelievably sensitive to even have a shot.
So here's the thing, and this is really crucial to understand. Our main method for finding these planets, it has a built-in bias. We're way more likely to find these giant planets that orbit super close to their star. We call them hot Jupiters, and it's just a numbers game, right? They're bigger, so they block more light, and they transit all the time, maybe every few days. But a world like ours, a cool world farther out, it might only pass in front of its star once a year. That makes it so much harder to find.
But the investigation is getting wider. I mean, as if finding the planets themselves wasn't hard enough, right? Now some astronomers are looking for an even more elusive target. They're hunting for moons orbiting those distant worlds, exomoons.
And why bother with something so difficult? Well, because this could be a total game changer. Think about it. If these exomoons can support life, it could increase the number of potentially habitable worlds out there by up to 10 times. That doesn't just widen the search for life, it blows it wide open.
And like any good detective story, we've got a person of interest. Or, I guess, a system of interest. Kepler's 1625b. Astronomers pointed the Hubble telescope at this Jupiter-like planet and saw some tantalizing hints. Not just the dip in light from the planet, but a second, smaller dip, plus a little gravitational wobble. And you know what that points to? A huge Neptune-sized moon. But scientists are being super careful here. They're calling it evidence, not a discovery. The jury is definitely still out on this one.
Okay, but finding a world, or even a moon, is really just step one. The real challenge, the hunt for the smoking gun in this whole cosmic case, is figuring out if anything is actually living there. How do you find alien fingerprints from light years away?
Well, just like detectives on Earth look for fingerprints, astronomers are on the hunt for something called biosignatures. The idea is that as starlight passes through a planet's atmosphere, the gases in that atmosphere leave a kind of chemical fingerprint on the light. And by analyzing that light, we might be able to spot the telltale signs of life.
So what's on this most wanted list? Well, you've got things like oxygen, the stuff that comes from photosynthesis. You've got methane, even things like nitrous oxide. Yep, laughing gas. And phosphine. What's cool is that all of these are cranked out by tiny microbes right here on Earth. So finding a cocktail of these gases in a distant atmosphere, that would be a huge clue. But hold on, because any good detective knows you have to be super careful about false leads. And in astronomy, these are called false positives. Nature can be tricky. For example, oxygen, which we used to think was a slam-dunk sign of life, can actually be created without any life at all. Intense UV radiation from a star can just split water vapor in the atmosphere and, boom, you've got oxygen.
So every single clue has to be put under the microscope, so to speak.
So you've got this slow, careful, methodical, astronomical search grinding along for decades, and then, bam, the whole investigation gets a massive jolt. A shocking new lead comes in, and it's not from some new telescope, it's from a testimony given under oath to the U.S. government.
Yeah, you heard that right. In July 2023, a former high-ranking U.S. intelligence official testified under oath before Congress, and his claim was absolutely explosive. He said that the U.S. government has recovered craft of non-human origin. And not just the craft. As he put it, they also recovered biologics, non-human biologics.
And that just leaves us in this incredible position. We now have two completely parallel investigations, both trying to answer the exact same cosmic question. But one is playing out in the open in public scientific journals, and the other is happening behind the locked doors of classified government programs. So let's just break it down. On one side, you have the astronomical search, the method, telescopes, the evidence, public peer-reviewed data that anyone can check. The pace, slow, methodical. It takes decades. And the status? Well, so far, no confirmed signs of life. Then you have the official testimony. The method? A whistleblower talking to Congress. The evidence? Classified, anecdotal claims we can't see. The pace? Sudden, dramatic, out of nowhere. And its status? Totally unverified and still under investigation. Which brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? In this cosmic detective story, which path will solve the case first? Will the answer come from a telescope, patiently gathering photons of light from a world trillions of miles away? Or will it come from the testimony of a government insider? The search is on and the case is wide open.